Welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for today's eVisors webinar session. For those of you who aren't familiar with eVisors.com, it's your go-to destination for career prep resources. We have a network of over 5,000 professionals who have worked at some of the most sought-after employers worldwide, and all of these professionals are available to you on demand to help with mock interviews, with resume critiques, or with career conversations so you can find out how to break into any industry or company. In addition to this webinar today, we have over 100 recorded sessions in our library that cover a variety of career topics and industries, and we continue to add new live webinars to our library throughout the year. Today we are very excited to welcome back Emily as the host for our session on the power of your LinkedIn summary. My name is Caitlin and I'll be the moderator for this webinar today. It should last around 30 minutes with Emily, followed by a quick Q&A session. And Emily has also graciously offered to critique a few of your profile summaries. So if you could submit the link to your LinkedIn profile, if you would like her to critique it, you could submit it to me in the chat box in your WebEx panel, and I'll randomly choose a few of them for Emily to take a look at the very end of the webinar. Emily has also put together a great LinkedIn summary worksheet to help you if you are preparing a summary. So I've emailed that out, but if you did not receive it, just let me know. So Emily is currently a career counselor at the Graduate Center at the City University of New York, and she also has extensive experience working with individuals of all ages, including undergraduates, graduate students, and alumni. And she's worked within higher education at Columbia and NYU. She's also previously hosted a webinar on optimizing your LinkedIn profile, which was one of our most popular webinars. So I'd highly recommend checking that out as well if you have not done so already. Today she'll be focusing specifically on the summary section of your profile. And so with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Emily.
Well, thank you, Caitlin, and thank you everyone for being here today, especially on this nice, lovely day if you're on the East Coast and in the New York area. And I'm really excited to be back and conducting another webinar for advisors. So as we all know, we are focusing today on only the summary section within the LinkedIn profile. So we won't be going over the entire profile or how to use LinkedIn for your job search. However, as Caitlin just mentioned, Advisors has other webinars on this topic as well. So I did one on optimizing the LinkedIn profile, and I believe I've seen others as well. Caitlin, you can correct me if I'm wrong. So if you're joining this webinar, I assume you have some idea about how to use LinkedIn in general, but also for connecting with other professionals around the world. It greatly facilitates this notion today that we need to be networking throughout our entire careers, not just when we are looking for a job. But it also does lead to jobs for many people. And in most recent surveys, more than 90% of employers state they use LinkedIn to find passive candidates, meaning those people who aren't necessarily applying to things and looking, but also to check out candidates that have applied for a job and perhaps are interviewing. So it is to our benefit to have the best looking profile possible, and this of course includes the summary section in our profile. So our agenda for today, we're going to go over an overview of the LinkedIn summary. We'll talk about preparation work to do before writing your summary. We'll talk about summary basics, format, and examples. We'll do questions first and then a few critiques. So you may be wondering, why is the summary so important? Why are we focusing on just one aspect? It seems to be such a narrow topic for discussion. The reason is because the summary is one of the most important sections of your profile. And some experts even go as far as to say that it is the most important section of your entire profile. But why is it so important? Well, you may know that the summary is one of the sections LinkedIn requires you to complete in order to reach the all-star profile status. And when you get to this level, which you want to get to, LinkedIn says you are 40% more likely to be found by others, which is important if you want to be coming up in searches, and searches that employers could be conducting, that recruiters can be conducting, or other professionals. In addition, the summary is the first section that follows your headline and photo at the top of your profile. Thus, the summary is one of the first sections a visitor will see, and they will form their first impression of you based on not only your summary, but your headline, your photo, that top part. In fact, there have been recent studies where they track where people's eye movements follow on a LinkedIn profile, and they found that visitors quickly scan the profiles, and they do spend most of their time at the top and particularly on the summary. The summary is one of the sections on your profile with most text allotted, which is up to 2,000 characters. So this is your one chance to really shine using your own words and being able to talk about yourself, to give a description of yourself in the way that you want to come across. So, in other sections, like experience section, you do have words that you're putting in there and you are describing yourself in the way you want to, but it's your experience and the employer or reader can interpret it in whatever way they want to. Whereas in the summary, you have a little bit more control on what you want to say. Finally, the summary is also your chance to load up with keywords, which you may know helps with search engine optimization or the likelihood that you will come up in searches. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. So what should the summary say? The summary section can be a bit overwhelming because essentially in the beginning, when you first sign up and you have your profile, it's just a blank canvas with 2,000 characters for you to fill. So this is your chance, like I mentioned, to talk about who you are as a professional. You'll want to tell your story, convey your personal brand, what makes you interesting and unique, what makes you stand out amongst others in your field. In other words, the summary is an expansion of your brand. It elaborates on your headline. So if you joined the advisors webinar I did on the LinkedIn profile, you'll remember that in your headline, you want to briefly describe who you are as a professional. It's almost like a personal branding statement. And you want your brand to be consistent throughout your entire profile. Thus, the summary is one way to expand, to say more about yourself and expand on that statement in your headline. So although I've just been talking about describing who you are in your summary, other professionals are correct when they say that the summary is actually less about you and more about the reader. Your reader will not be focused on you, as they'll be asking themselves when they're reading your profile, what's in this for me? How can this person solve my problems? How can they help me? Thus, in your summary, you want to be addressing your target readers, employers, or clients and thinking about what they want. And we'll be talking more about that later as well. Okay, so Caitlin sent around the summary preparation worksheet. And if you haven't received that, there were also some links. And don't worry if you didn't get it. One thing I wanted to point out here, though, it's to help walk through different questions before you start your summary. It's really beneficial to do this work. You want to take some time to think about your personal brand and your target audience before you begin creating your summary statement. It's going to make it a lot easier. You'll be able to refer to it and think about, okay, what do I want to say about myself? So look at this worksheet. I'm going to talk about it a little bit. You don't have to fill it out now, but you can refer to it if you have it in front of you as we talk about the various questions. So the first area, or the first part of that worksheet, is focusing on personal branding. So you want to get really clear about what your personal brand is if you haven't already. What message do you want to give potential employers, professionals, or clients? So in the worksheet, you'll see these questions that are on this slide, as well as some examples of relating to these questions. What are your core strengths or top skills? What are your personal attributes? How are you unique? How do you stand out from competitors? What are your passions? What are your career values? What do you want to be known for? What are your top career accomplishments? What are your career goals? And by answering these, you're going to be ready with various descriptive words, traits, skills, and adjectives to describe yourself in your summary statement. And you don't need to use all of these that you come up with, but by incorporating some, you will be able to more accurately communicate your uniqueness to your target audience. And note that even if you are a young student or a recent graduate without much work experience, you can still have a brand. I know a lot of people think, oh, I I don't have anything to offer yet, but you do. And think about what personal attributes you want to portray to employers. What transferable skills have you gained through school, summer jobs, and internships? Almost any work-related experience, whether it's paid or unpaid, will include general transferable skills such as collaboration, teamwork, interpersonal skills, analytical skills, communication skills. These are all good to highlight. Any employer wants those types of skills. So everyone has a brand they can formulate. Okay, then the section 2 of that worksheet focuses on your target audience, your industry and keywords. So the questions include, who is your target audience, employer, or customer? Who do you want to attract? What are their needs and wants? What are the keywords for your industry and role? What are the key tasks for your target roles? Remember, the summary ultimately must be written with your target audience in mind, so it's really important to think through this part of the section of the worksheet as well, so that you're thinking about yourself through the lens of those potential employers or target audience, if it's not employers. So I mentioned keywords, and you may be wondering, how do I find the right keywords? Keywords are a really important aspect of not only your summary, but actually your entire LinkedIn profile. One of the best ways to find keywords is to look at other profiles of people in your field. Read through their summary statements and even the experience sections where they list their work for clues. What are they saying? What words are they using? Also look in their skills and endorsement section. What skills have they included there? What have they been endorsed for the most? Another great way to come up with keywords is to collect 10 job postings for your targeted role. Review all the skills, traits, and words they include in their description of the role, as well as the requirements section, and then start to look for consistencies and patterns across all the job postings. So once you've worked on answering the questions regarding your target audience and keywords, you want to go back through your answers you recorded for your personal brand. So we've got the first section of the worksheet being personal brand, and the second section being your target audience. And you want to look for matches between the two. Because remember, you want to talk about yourself in your summary, but you want to talk about it through the lens of the employer and the target audience. What parts of your brand fit with the target audience, employer, or client? Which keywords fit with your personal brand? And these are the ones that you'll be including not only in your summary, but it's a good idea to sprinkle them throughout the rest of your profile. And one key thing about the keywords, you don't want to spam your profile with just a hunk of keywords here and there. You want them to come through naturally and organically. Okay, so now let's go on to, now we've talked about the basics and preparation for your summary, let's move on to actually writing the summary. You don't necessarily need to follow a set format for a summary statement. Just like cover letters, there are going to be some general guidelines, but you will also need to think about your unique situation and strategy. You can be creative and add your own personal flair, but of course, how much personality is really going to depend on your target audience and industry. So to go over some summary basics, there are not a lot of hard and fast rules and guidelines at this time about writing the LinkedIn profile and summary. Mostly because, although it's been around for a while, it really hasn't been around for 100 years, like, say, a resume. But there are some best practices that are starting to emerge. So many people wonder about whether they should write their summaries in the first person or third person. Most experts seem, these days, to be leaning toward the first person, stating professionals want to be more personable on LinkedIn than, say, a resume or a CV. And writing in first person, meaning I did this, I am that, makes people seem more approachable and open. On the other hand, some say writing in third person might be good because it helps create a more formal, authoritative, expert tone. Really, and my opinion is that it depends on your brand and target audience. Do you work in a field that tends to be more formal and traditional? Or do you work in a field that's a little more relaxed and creative and people-oriented? If you're not sure which way to go, take a look at what other people in your profession are doing. on their LinkedIn profiles, and look at, a bunch of them so you can see if there's a pattern or not. In addition, your tone of writing should match your brand, your targeted field, company, and role. Again, are you in a more traditional, formal field or more creative, relaxed, friendly field? Should you add a little more or a little less personality? Another common question is the ideal length for your summary. And again, there are varying points of view as to whether you should use all 2,000 characters or keep it on the shorter side, especially since readers online tend to scan much more quickly for text. We don't read as much as, say, if it were a printed document. And personally, I think it depends, again, on your brand and target audience. Once you have a sense of your brand and audience, you can decide how much you want to include. Again, you might review what others in your field are doing on their profiles, but when in doubt, I think using as much space as you need in your summary is fine. Just make sure it's as scannable as possible. Again, because people are going to scan rather than really read. And you can follow a few of these tips. Write in a style for the web, which means shorter paragraphs, and each paragraph should not have more than 3 to 4 sentences, so real short. Break up the text with headers, subheaders, or bullet points. Make sure to pack in keywords for your field, and again, more organically and naturally. Create your summary in a Word document first so that you can edit and spell check before pasting it into your profile. And this will also allow you to create bullet points if you want to use them, because you cannot create bullet points in LinkedIn, although you could use dashes. Finally, be sure to include media in your summary. And you can do that by clicking on the edit mode. If you're in the edit mode for your profile, and then you see these little edit pencil here, go to this box-like structure. You just click on that, and then you can add photos, presentations, videos, documents, links. Anything you add, though, should support and enhance your brand. So it's adding more information. It's allowing the reader to learn about your work, have review an example of you and your work, but it should, again, support your brand. So here's an example of headings. I'm sorry, this picture isn't very high resolution, it looks like, so it's kind of fuzzy, but gives you a general idea. Note that headings can also help communicate your brand, such as a heading that says accounting experience. Immediately tells us, or the reader, what this person's brand is, or part of their brand. Okay, so now that we've talked about the basics, let's go into a basic summary format. And this is just a general guideline. Again, keep in mind that really your summary is going to depend on you, your unique situation, who your target audience is, who your industry is, and so on and so forth. But as a place to start, you could start with this basic format. And you can think of each number here as a brief separate paragraph. So the first paragraph includes an introduction to who you are. If you have a personal brand statement or a sentence describing who you are professionally, this is the perfect place for it. You could even lead with it. You also want something that shows your personality a bit, as I mentioned before, so that it's interesting and grabs the reader's attention. Because if people are, browsing a lot of profiles, you want something that quickly grabs their attention and makes them want to read further. The next paragraph focuses on your background, including your education, your experience, companies and organizations you've worked for. This should just be a brief summary and the highlights. You do not want to restate your entire profile or your resume or CV. You just want to give the reader a quick idea of your background and whatever is relevant to your audience. And then they can read further down in your profile about more details of your experience. The third paragraph includes your uniqueness, or what makes you special. How are you different from others in your field? What makes you special? What are your specialties, key strengths, and top skills? Be sure to refer back to that preparation worksheet for the words and traits and characteristics you identified for your personal brand and target audience, and that's going to really come in handy here. The fourth paragraph highlights your career achievements. Refer again to the worksheet where the achievements are that you identified, and work them into your summary. These achievements should showcase skills and experience that fit with your target audience. So if it's something completely in left field, unless it's showcasing transferable skills, you probably don't want to include it. So even if you do not have a lot of work experience, you can probably come up with one or two of these related to school, volunteer work, internships, and classes. But don't worry about it if you don't have them. Employers understand when you've just graduated from school that you're not going to have all this experience and expertise and achievements, and they understand that. In the fifth paragraph, you can wrap up with a call to action. So it might be as simple as I can be reached at with an email or phone number, or if you have your own business, you might refer to your website, urge people to sign up for your newsletter, buy your product. And finally, you can include the old specialties section, which is a great place to list the most important keywords for your industry and targeted role, focusing on your specialties. And remember, the more keywords, the better. All right, so let's get into some examples. So here's an example of a summary statement following the basic guidelines we just reviewed. And this is actually a composite I put together based on several people I've worked with to kind of highlight this format. So this is a career changer who had a background in marketing with for-profit businesses, but she wanted to transition to doing marketing for environmental nonprofits like, say, the Sierra Club, particularly in a social media position. So note the opening sentence here reflects a personal branding statement. So I'm a creative, forward-thinking, and professional, performance-driven digital marketing professional who has demonstrated an ability to analyze and interpret social media metrics to plan innovative marketing communication strategies. So she then had volunteered for environmental nonprofit organizations, so she included the second sentence reflecting that. I am also passionate about the environment and grassroots movements to increase the public's awareness of environmental problems and solutions. Now notice it doesn't even really say she's worked in that area, so even if she hadn't and she just had a passion for something and wants to steer her summary in that direction to the job she wants, then that's something to include right up front. So that's a quick snapshot. If the reader did not read further, they have a quick idea of who she is and where, in some ways, where she wants to go. You know, what is she all about? Note that this person used headers, and one of them is very specific, marketing experience. So we quickly, even if we just scan this, we quickly get an idea of marketing that stands out, and we already have a sense of her brand. She included 3 successes here, or achievements, and note that the last one is something she actually did outside of her work, but because it's so relevant, she's included it here. And this is the only one where she's stated where or what specific topic it has to deal with, because again, that's a part of her brand, where she says she focused on public awareness of environmental issues. Notice that although her paid work experience was for large for-profit companies, she didn't really emphasize this fact anywhere in this profile. She de-emphasized it. She did include it, let's see, right up here. I have experience working for nonprofit and for-profit organizations focusing on digital marketing promotions. But she didn't say anything about that in this sentence about her skills at these organizations. She's listed transferable skills that could apply to the for-profit organizations as well as the nonprofit. And then in her key successes, it says nothing, again, about where she has made these achievements. It's just in a company, and everything is transferable to the nonprofit field as well. Finally, note her call to action down here is just simply, I enjoy networking with other professionals and sharing digital marketing best practices and ideas. So even though she's looking for a job, she does not state that. And the reason for that is that employers really, unless you're just graduating from school, which then I think you can be a little bit more forthright about it. But employers really, unfortunately, it's a bias, but they prefer people who are already employed, that are happily employed. So you want to make it seem that you are happy where you're at, and you may or may not be looking for presentations, you may or may not be looking for a job, But you've stated here that, yes, you are in a professional field and you want to keep up to date and be on top of things and meet others. And note that this approach could also work if this person was interested in either a nonprofit or a for-profit job, because it is general enough that we see both sides and we see how she has the skills for both sides. Okay, here's another example, and this is from Marcy Albaher. You may know her. She's an author. She was a lawyer, and then she changed careers to be a journalist, and she's actually quite accomplished. She has books and it's been quoted and blah, blah, blah. But I want to point out a couple things here. First, she has kind of a nice intro or hook. I like to shake things up a lot. Well, she can do that in her field, but that's one example of a hook. And then also note the old specialties section here, where she includes the keywords. And again, that's a great place to, sprinkle in those keywords, but in a natural way. And then also notice that she didn't necessarily follow the format we just reviewed. She didn't follow it directly, but she includes the same elements. They're just a little bit more interspersed and blended together. Okay, and here's another example, and this is from Sabrina, and she is a higher educational professional as well as a career coach, but she decided to use her profile to target potential clients and speaking opportunities, so really more on the career coach business side. So note that she has a branding statement at the top, and then she decided to highlight her areas of expertise. And she had 3 here. I cut one out so I could fit it on the slide. But just to show you a different way to approach a profile, bullet points in a different way. She used some different types of bullet points, which if you were in a very formal field, maybe you wouldn't want to use diamonds and stars. And then the specialties section here. But I really wanted to point out is her wonderful use of media down here. She has included her website, blog post, presentation examples. They all reflect her brand. They give the employer or reader a sense of her and what kind of work she does. Notice how eye-catching it is as well. It's much more appealing than, say, just text. It adds another element and it goes beyond the resume. It gives a little bit, it's more like a portfolio, so to speak. And then finally, another example here. This is an example of a recent graduate. One common question I often get with LinkedIn summaries is what to do if you're targeting more than one field or you don't know what you want to go into. So let's say you're graduating with a liberal arts degree and you want to target 2 fields, marketing and finance. You can either decide to focus on one area or you can blend them as best as possible into your summary. To include more than one field, I would recommend going back to that preparation worksheet and fill out the target and audience keyword section for each of the fields or roles that you will be targeting. If the fields are somewhat similar, your job is going to be a little bit easier. You're going to find more overlap in the more transferable skills and traits that you can include. If they are quite different, I would still give it a shot. You know, there's no way to completely hide that you're targeting 2 or more fields. You do run the risk of it sounding a little general or maybe a little bit, some people have said all over the place, but give it a shot, see how it comes out. And I put together this example, again, a composite of people I've worked with. So this person is a recent graduate with a bachelor's degree in philosophy, and they want to target jobs in marketing and finance. So this person highlighted the general skills from both fields, including collaboration, creativity, quantitative analysis, ability to pick up projects quickly, research, writing, project management skills. So you can see those are up here. So my time in school, I strengthened these skills. And those skills could be applied to, except for the marketing, to either field. And then down here, this part about my supervisors praised me for my ability to pick up projects quickly. Research, writing, project management skills, again, can apply to both fields. But then we've also have a couple mentions of traits or skills or characteristics that apply to only one or the other field, such as the marketing, business courses, financial analysis. And again, that's okay. That's, if you're going to include both, that's what you can do. I mean, you could decide, I'm only going to focus on one, like Sabrina did a little bit, deciding to focus just on her business part. But if you really want to highlight both, then basically what you're doing is focusing on transferable skills. Now notice here in this one, this person includes some project experience, which is perfectly acceptable, especially as a student. If let's say your degree has nothing to do with what you would like to go into, or maybe your internships do not relate directly to what you want to do, except of course for transferable skills. If maybe you took a couple classes, like in this case, this person took classes in business and finance and marketing, so he can highlight some projects that relate to the field. And employers do put, project experience is experience. Internships, unpaid work, it's all experience. If it relates to the professional fields, then include it. Note that I did not include any achievements here. I mean, again, you can have achievements even as a student or recent graduate. But again, employers understand that for internships, you're only there for a few months or shorter. So you're not always going to be there long enough to realize some achievements. And contact information for your call of action, and then specialties as well. So you can use, one strategy you can use for if you're in this situation where you want to target more than one field, and again, this is probably one of the, in my opinion, one of the more challenging situations for writing a LinkedIn profile, because you can't target it towards your specific audiences, whereas with your resume and your cover letter and your CV, obviously you can target those. So you can look at it as, all right, so I will target with my resume and cover letter. My LinkedIn profile is really going to be a place to highlight my transferable skills in general. Okay, so that is, those are all our examples. And just to wrap up what we've talked about today, a summary of the summary. The summary is a key section of the profile. In fact, some say the most important section. It's your chance to show who you are as a professional and your personal brand. You want to write for the web, so keep your paragraph short, include headings, use bullet points, break it up. Include media to support your brand and help you to stand out, because not everybody does include media. Do your preparation work on your personal brand, your target audience, keywords, and that'll really help you. And then follow the basic summary format in the beginning, but then customize for your situation, brand, audience, industry, target role. Don't be afraid to include some personality, but then weigh that out with whether, your particular field. And that's it for that.
Excellent, Emily. Thank you so much for that great presentation. You covered a lot of great things in there, and definitely very helpful for everyone. So thank you so much. So I would love to just get a few questions in before we jump into the critiquing sessions. So let's just get started with this first question. Should your summary reflect the career that you have or the career that you want?
Yeah, good question. So definitely the career that you want. If you, and through those examples, hopefully I was able to show you a little bit that you can use your experience, of course, that is the experience you've had, to kind of help highlight where you want to go. So you won't be focusing as much on what you've done, but what are the transferable skills and other aspects and experiences that help put you in that direction of where you want to go, and then to add elements that relate to, if your objective, your target role is quite different, are there statements you can add, such as that one where the person was passionate about environmental issues and so on and so forth.
Excellent. So moving on, the next question is, how often should you update your profile? And how important is it to improve your LinkedIn profile if you're not necessarily looking for a new job?
Well, the algorithm for reaching that all-star profile status does include frequent updates, and the summary is one area, as well as the experience, where you want to keep that fresh. And I've never found any exact number of days or months or what have you, but my guess is every few months. And that's just based on my own experience of dropping from the all-star profile status and then making a tweak and going back up. So and also, things may change, or you may have something new to add, or you may just want to visit every now and then to improve your profile. You know how when we write, sometimes we need a break from it, and then we go back and we reread it a little while later, and we're like, oh, okay, I want to change this part. And if you're not looking for a job, I think it's still important to tweak it every now and then, just to add new things, but also to keep up your level in the all-star profile status so that you can be found more often.
Great. So an interesting question here. This person's saying, I've been working at the same company for over 15 years, but within different roles, and I just started the job hunt again. As well as wanting to move jobs, I'm also looking to move across and up the career ladder. So I'm wondering how to best summarize this on LinkedIn.
Well, that, I would say, definitely related to the idea of where do you want to go. So, thinking about what is that role, what is required for that role where you want to be, that, if it's a higher leadership, is it different types of skills? I mean, it sounds like this person has been in their career for quite a while, so and like they said, they want to move up the ladder. So it's really probably going to be framing your summary in terms of and showcasing your leadership skills, your strategy skills, the big picture skills. And even if you haven't had a lot of experience in that way, you can pull out examples or achievements, maybe that highlight in that direction, and play around with it and look for people's profiles who are where you'd like to be, to see how are they wording theirs. I mean, that's always a good default when you're in doubt.
Great. So again, on wording, do you word your summary differently if you're seeking employment than you would if you're happy with your current position?
No, I would keep it. In fact, I would always keep it sounding as if you are very happy with your current position, whether you are or you are not. And notice too, even if you don't have a current position, that there's nothing that says you have to allude to that. In fact, the first example I showed, that there was nothing where it said currently I am. I mean, you could put that in if you wanted to, and it helps highlight a certain aspect of your brand for some reason. But you do want to sound like you are just peachy keen in your profession and really happy, and you're open to talking with people and discussing new opportunities. But you do want to be careful, of course, about stating that outright as far as call me if you have any jobs. But again, if you're a recent grad, that this is a natural transition. So, you could have something that's a little more straightforward, like I'm really looking forward to starting my career in, the financial field, and I'd love to talk with people about what they're doing and opportunities that are available, or something to that effect.
Excellent. So another common question that we get when it comes to LinkedIn profiles is, are there ways to attract recruiters to your profile without putting red flags out for your current employer?
Right. Well, and these days it's just accepted that most professionals are on LinkedIn, whether they're employed or not employed, whether they're looking for a job or not looking for a job. In fact, some employers now, as they're looking, maybe if you applied for a job and they're looking for you, they expect that you're going to be on LinkedIn. So it is positive to be on LinkedIn, and then you just want to if like, let's say you're doing a lot of updates to your profile and you're really working on your summary and you're making changes every day, you might want to go into your settings and turn off the broadcasting to everybody that you've made a change. There is an option there. And in general, it's good to keep that on, in my opinion, because if you're making a change once a week and that's broadcasted, say like you upload a piece of media, and then a message goes out within all your connections home feed will say John Doe uploaded a presentation, and then it keeps you in their mind, and they say, oh, I want to see that presentation. Oh, I really like this. I better get in touch with him. So, but I think it could be a red flag for people if you're doing constant updates and that's being sent out. Say you're connected with your employer and your employer sees that. I think that's a good way to downplay it. And then just, obviously you wouldn't put in your summary that you're looking for opportunities, or I would keep your call to action a little more general about networking and connecting with professionals.
Great. Well, on that, Emily, I think I'd like to jump into the critiquing session so we can get to as many of those as we can. But thank you so much, everyone, for your wonderful questions, and apologies if we didn't get to it, but hopefully we can get Emily back again soon to do another session for us. But moving on to some of your LinkedIn summary profiles, thank you very much for sending those to me. I've lined a few up here, Emily, so we can try to get to as many of these as we can. So first up, we have Khan's profile, and here is his summary.
Okay, well, looks great at first impression is that it's nice and neat, and look how he breaks up his text so you can really scan it if you want to. And I would say off the first bat, it might be nice to have a little kind of like intro sentence, again, kind of like a personal branding sentence. It doesn't need to be really long, but just something like, if that's the only sentence I read, I say the first one right now, if I only read highly motivated, hardworking, multicultural individual who actively seeks responsibility, I'm getting a little bit about you, but I'm not getting a full scope of who you are and your brand. So that might be something to add. And then it looks like you have some really nice transferable skills. It looks like you have some success factors, experience in project management, supply chain over 4 years. Okay, now be careful with labeling the number of years of experience. If you know for sure that you'll be applying to only places that are looking for somebody with 4 years of experience or less, great. But a lot of times that could be, again, since you can't target this to who is looking at it, you could either overqualify yourself or underqualify yourself. So you might just say experience as a part-time entrepreneur, and in that one you might even want to elaborate if that is kind of enhancing your brand, depending on what message you're wanting to give. If you want to show that you're a self-starter, and all the other great skills that you might have or might have picked up as an entrepreneur, you might elaborate on that. An international background, I don't really know what that means. Does that mean you've traveled a lot, you've worked in a lot of different places, and looking to further increase responsibility, breadth of experience, and network? Okay, I think that's a pretty good general, but you might want to elaborate on that and include your contact information, because again, if people aren't connected with you, you want to make it really easy for them to find a way to reach out to you, because they may not have the ability if you're not in their network, and good specialties. So that's a really good start, Khan.
Great. So moving on, here we have Erin.
Okay, Erin. Looks good. Okay, so one thing, it's just a paragraph right now, so I would recommend breaking it up a little bit, and that may just be, as much as adding some section breaks and bullet points, something like that. So let's see. Versatile, highly motivated professional leader who has delivered on an operational, tactical level in complex, highly pressured operations, often working to strict deadlines. Okay, very nice. That really sounds like a branding opening statement, and I really get a visual sense of who you are, and I like that. So then maybe break after that First, the management of both civilian and military staff with excellent communication skills, dedicated to continued professional development and career management of junior personnel. Natural leader, adaptable and highly ambitious, with ability to maximize team potential. Okay, very nice. You may want to, I think about your brand and what do you want this to highlight. I hear a lot of leadership. I hear a lot of good transferable skills, but I'm also, those are such strong transferable skills that I'm not seeing this in a particular field. And maybe that's what you want to do. Maybe you are targeting several different fields, so you're trying to keep this more about leadership and communication and training and teamwork, because I get all of that really well, but I'm not picturing it in a certain field. So you might want to add a little bit of that. Maybe if you have any achievements, the specialties section, and maybe how you want to, if you want people to reach out to you or anything like that.
Excellent. And next up we have Jose.
Okay, Jose. Looks good. All right, so we again see the paragraph form. So want to expand on that, break it up. Let's see, sales and brand manager. Okay, quickly get a view of who you are, 10 years experience. Be careful with labeling the years of experience unless you know, again, that you want to target certain, roles that are definitely going to be more than that. With multinational companies like L'Oreal and P&G. Okay, and this is a good example of if the companies facilitate and enhance your brand, by all means, you can name them. Results driven, focused on creating new ways to develop the business and joint ventures with clients. Okay, good. All right, so I think it's a good start. I think you want to elaborate a little bit more. A really good opening. I really get a sense of who you are. Let's see. I would want to know maybe a little bit more about your MBA program. What are you focusing in on there? Where do you want to go with this? And again, that may just be a part of your next steps, and you want to elaborate more. Maybe some achievements. I bet you have lots of achievements, especially when you say you're results driven. Okay, what are those results? And specialties, definitely, because you can get those keywords in. It's such an easy way to do that. And it's very commonly accepted that people have these specialty sections, because it used to be a long time ago, it was part of the summary. And then LinkedIn did away with it, but so many people still include it. Okay, so really good start.
Great, and so moving on, we have Marco.
Okay, Marco has taken a little bit more of the friendly approach. Okay, that's nice. Welcome to my LinkedIn profile. My mission is to drive performance, excellence through learning leadership. Okay, good. So I like how you have it broken up. Results driven, learning and development professional with more than 12 years of experience. Again, the labeling the years of experience, training and leadership and development, leadership, L&D leadership at Fortune 500 companies. Okay, good. So a really nice branding. I get a quick sense of who you are. I know the field that you're targeting, although again, you don't have to do that if you're trying to keep it open. I'm not so sure you necessarily need the welcome to my LinkedIn profile, especially if you are trying to maximize the use of characters within your profile. Let's say you decide to add more. That's kind of given. If you're trying to create that more friendly sense, then go for it. Although if you're targeting Fortune 500 companies, I would strike a balance between being maybe more the relaxed, friendly, and the formal. So I would say keep the nice openness with the first person, but then strike a little bit more to the formal as well, and maybe scratch the welcome to my LinkedIn profile. But again, you have to add your personality and flair. Specialties, good. So I would like to see some achievements that you highlight. Again, you've got the results driven in there, just like our previous individual. So I want to see what you mean by that. And maybe a little bit more, too, about the corporate training and leadership and development if that makes sense. And then a call to action, I think, is good. And I don't necessarily know that you need to put all opinions are my own. I'm not sure you are putting opinions on your LinkedIn resume, although I guess you could say everything in our summary is an opinion, right? But that I could see definitely on a Twitter account or other accounts where you're constantly sending out messages. Maybe that's what you're doing. Maybe you're doing a lot of status updates, so you want that. But good job.
Excellent. So maybe we have some time for one more. Here is Luis's profile.
Sure. Okay. Okay, good. So paragraph form again. So you know what I'm going to say about that by now. So break up. It looks like you have some natural divisions here. You could just do a break. Watch with the 15 years. Working experience, management consulting. Use the first person, okay. Okay, good. Good opening. So I get a quick sense of what you've done, but you might want to add some descriptive attributes, adjectives, just to kind of give a little flavor of who you are. What's your personality besides being in management consulting? Teach at the university to keep your brain in shape. Okay, this area looks like maybe a typo there for my. Okay, good, all right. So focus on corporate sustainability. So I imagine that's a direction that you want to continue focusing in on. So I would say for this one, maybe adding, in addition to some of the attributes, a little bit about perhaps some key achievements, maybe the specialty section, maybe a call to action. Again, I say this and I'm following that format. And again, you don't necessarily need to follow that format. So you make your own best judgments as to what makes sense to you and what you think for your particular situation and industry and brand management. You know, how do you want this to come across? And you might expand a little bit on teaching at the university. You've mentioned it, and if it fits with your brand that you're portraying, that you want to portray, I would be interested in knowing, what are you teaching to keep your brain in shape, and how does that relate to consulting? How does, if you're really trying to hone in on being this consultant, management consultant, how everything you say should kind of feed and enhance that image, if that makes sense. So keeping consistent with the brand. And again, that goes back to, I'm sure this does relate, the teaching at the university, but if there's something that doesn't necessarily relate to your brand and the image that you are trying to portray, then you don't necessarily need to include it. Good job. You all have done really good start.
Great. Well, Emily, thank you so much. That was excellent, and thank you so much for critiquing all of those profiles on the fly. I think on that we will have to end it there as we are out of time for today. But a reminder to everyone on the line that you can connect with Emily through her eVisors profile, through the link on your screen, and she's available for resume critiques or career conversations, so I'd highly recommend reaching out to her there. As well, you can check out all of our webinars on evisors.com/webinars. You can see our full library, including Emily's past session on optimizing your LinkedIn profile, where she covers all aspects of the profile. So if you're looking to improve your LinkedIn profile, I'd highly recommend checking that one out specifically as well. For all of the latest updates on upcoming sessions, you can also follow us on social media. So thank you so much, everyone, for attending this webinar today and for all of your wonderful questions. And a huge thanks to you, Emily, for, again, a great session. And we definitely hope to have you back again soon.
Thank you, Caitlin, and thank you to everyone. Have a great day.
Great. That's it for today, everyone. Have a great day.